welcome back to Halftime Heroes. It is that time now for the Coach's Corner. Take it away, please, Kamish.
Well, the guests just keep, I've said this, I think, every time, but I'm a little bit shocked.
I'm shocked, to be honest.
Shocked?
Yeah, I am a little bit shocked.
You're glum.
Thank you.
You've been down base,
I thought your skin looked great.
Yeah, thanks, Tom. Not any better. Not as good as yours, mate.
Tom, thanks for coming in on a chilly Sunday morning. I know Bree's waiting down in the morning for coffee.
No rush. No rush. This is important stuff.
So I tell you what, if Bree and Tom ever have kids at any stage,
they're going to be good looking. Or they could throw really ugly babies. Because they're two really good looking people.
I doubt that. Well,
that happens.
It actually does happen.
It does happen.
It does happen. It is genetically possible. It has been proven.
We'll cross that bridge when we get to it.
But it has been proven. Sorry, mate.
You could find a bridge being built in this frigging garage here.
Oh, my God. That's the best.
Right. Tom drafted to St Kilda in 2011. Played 25 games over a few years there, 3 or 4 years.
I was there 6 total.
6 years in total. Who was coach who drafted you?
So I had Ross Lyon for 1 year.
Righto.
Then I had Scott Waters for 2.
You had the angry Ross.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The Ross.
Defensive Ross.
Defensive Ross.
Fucking 30 points a game, Ross.
The Ross that knew the top 25 or 6 players and felt like he didn't know anyone else. But he knew the hospital you were born at. He knew your skin folds when you were 11. He knew everything about you. But the message that he put across was he was worrying about the top 26. That was back then. Obviously been through a few transitional periods. The game has, but he has as well in time since then.
He's changed, didn't he?
He has.
As a human being, he's the warm and fuzzy.
Yeah.
I don't think he's working.
I reckon
see the angry.
just on the outside.
I
reckon he'd still...
He's very angry on the inside.
Yeah.
Best and fairest at Sandy in 2012. Played every game at Sandringham in 2012 to win the BNF.
Yep. Probably sounds right,
How many years at Sandringham?
Well, I would say 6, really, because I was in and out of the Saints team for that period of time. But my sort of Saints stint was probably, I look at it in 2-3 year blocks.
Yep.
So the first 3 years I was a rookie. The next 3 years I was on the senior list. And then when I was that third year on the rookie list, so my third year of my career, so that 21-year-old, I played the last, I think it was 6 or 7 games of that year, and then rolled into my sort of 4th, 5th, 6th year as on that senior list. So I look at it kind of in 2 different stints, but 25 games over 6 years. I look at the average; it's about 4 games a year. But mate, I had a blast.
So did you find that frustrating, Tom? Was that you thought you were going okay and you're sort of in and out?
To be honest,
it's hard to get continuity.
It's really shifted since I was going through that period to now. Kids come in these days at they're 18, whether they're rookie or national draft, and they pick 1, 2, or 10. They come in red hot with confidence. They come in thinking, this is my team now. And it's just a different culture. I came in thinking, and our environment was anyway at the Saints, was you got to earn your stripes, put your head down, just keep doing it, knock the door down, you got to earn it. Don't play 1 or 2 good games in the twos. You got to be putting a lot of good quarters, good games, good seasons together before you earn it, and especially as a rookie, that's the way it was. So, and as a rookie, you're on a 1 year contract, 1 year contract, 1 year contract. So, you've got to kind of earn your stripes. So, which probably set me up in a lot of ways more than footy, broader than footy. Sort of putting your head down, and that work ethic kind of thing kind of shapes you in a way. So, but I don't even know what your question was, to be honest. I never got a ramble.
I'm just more stunned at the quality of the answer.
Well, I didn't answer your question, I think.
What was it, Adam?
No, I was asking about hard...
Mate, I'm looking at you blushing like a fucking schoolgirl.
You answered it well, Tom.
God, mate. But you obviously enjoyed...
Was there a question? I don't know. Sorry, Neil. Back
to the... Back to the Sandy experience. Obviously, you enjoyed playing at Sandy because you won the 2012 BNF and would have been thereabouts for the ensuing years. Comfortable at Sandy? Like it was a good footy club, wasn't it? And still is.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I really had a good time there at Sandy, and I feel like if you're an AFL listed player in a VFL environment, you've got the choice. You've got the choice to have that perception of I'm too good for this, and your teammates, the Sandringham or the VFL listed players, can really be put off by that. Or you've got the choice to join in, buy into the culture, have conversations, and build relationships. And sometimes it's hard. You don't have that contact time. We went there for a Friday night meeting. maybe a kick around for 20 minutes on a captain's run, and then we roll out and play the next day with them. So it's really hard to build those relationships, but you do have that choice whether you want to buy in, join in, and just be a good bloke. And that's sort of obviously the path that I tried to take. And I don't think other guys consciously took the other path, but it could be perceived that way if you sort of stroll in and your chest pumped out.
Bit of swagger.
Yeah. And I was always, a bit of a battler rookie, earning your stripes. So that sort of said to me, well, I've just got to join into this. And it was a strange transition. So my first sort of handful of games at Sandringham, I was in the 2s. So I was in the Resis playing at 11 o'clock or whatever it was. And I played maybe 4 or 5 there and went all right, but didn't really know what to expect. And then maybe by round 4 or 5 of my first year on the Saints list, played my first game at the Sandy seniors team. And then from there on, it was kind of thereabouts. But I was still nervous. It was the highest level I'd played at up until that point. The biggest bodies I've played against up until that point. Because aside from that, it was school footy, it was TAC Cup. And I was sort of growing with that progression. Physically and mentally, but I was still nervous for these times. But and then by that sort of second and third year on the VFL sort of environment, I found myself pretty comfortable. And you just build that confidence by doing the work, whether it's pre-season and training hard, and just experience. So after you've sort of banked 30 VFL games, I sort of got to a point where you're lining up next to your opponent, thinking, all right, I'm pretty okay here. I reckon I'll go okay.
You're not beat by luck.
Let's have some fun now. So that's where I really started to enjoy it.
That's great.
2017, you moved to Perth.
And
played Waffle.
Who'd
you play for in the Waffle?
Claremont.
Okay. How many years?
I was there for 3 years.
3 years at Claremont.
Okay.
Played every game?
No. So I played every game my first year, and then in going into my second season, in the pre-season, I fractured my neck actually, and then missed maybe 8 or 9 months.
Right.
So I came back through the 2s in my second year at Claremont, and sort of, what did we do? We came up against West Perth. How's this? So last game of the year, thereabouts. Beat West Perth by 120 points. We were first. They were second on the ladder. Beat them by 120 points. We'd lost one game maybe during the year. Played them first final. Beat them by 90 points. So we were pretty much straight through the grand final. And you know where this is going. We played them in the grand final, and they've pipped us by a kick. Anyway, so I was in and out of the ones in my third year at Claremont. Starting to shift the focus of, because my first year out of the system, wanting to get back into the system, right? But then you shift your focus to career. What's the future hold for me? Because you sort of, unfortunately, you learn that there's more to life outside and after footy. So that's where I sort of went whilst I was in Perth. Studied exercise sports science at Notre Dame University in Fremantle, and had great experience. I sort of had a couple of relationships already at Claremont, and that's sort of what drew me to that club. A couple of the boys that are there, and I think they're all finished up now, but they played at the Saints with me for a couple of years. So went over there. So Tom Ledger, Tom Lee, Bo Meister or Bo Wilkes back in the day. So that sort of, those relationships drew me to Claremont, and was there for 3 years and had a blast. Loved the environment, and just got super lucky with the club that I fell in, because not just for those boys, but that club was really, really welcoming. A beautiful area to live.
Perth's beautiful.
Well, Fremantle.
It's gorgeous around there.
Really my pace as well. Beachy, coastal, not busy. Really cruisy. It was good.
Can I ask one, Neil? Sorry.
Yes, go.
The difference, standard Waffle to VFL.
Yeah.
And you watch it,
good one.
and Sandful's, they're all great footy, but they've all got different. To me, it looks like the VFL looks slightly more contested.
Yeah.
And and then Sandful and Waffle seems like it really opens up, and it's slick and fast and skill. Would that be accurate? Just what to the eye, that's what it looks like.
Couldn't be more accurate, to be honest, Spook. So when I went,
one unspooked.
Full marks. So when I went there, I thought, I'm pretty fit at the moment. I'm coming out of a 6-year stint at that level, and I was sort of ready to give it another crack to hopefully spend 12 months at Claremont, with all due respect to Claremont, and then get back in the system. That's what I wanted. But anyway, long story short, exactly right. I went there and got a big surprise. I was fit, and I'm still relatively fit. I can run, but it's another level over there compared to the VFL.
Yep.
The VFL is more contested, smaller grounds generally.
Yep.
The space in the Perth grounds is just
maybe
next level.
conditions too. We're cold.
Beautiful weather.
Breezy.
That's definitely got something to do with it. Definitely.
No,
So a combination of the ground size and the weather, it makes for a contested versus a open,
Free
more
flowing.
uncontested but slick.
Yeah.
If you can kick and you can run, you'll go well in that league.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
Good one, Luke. Okay. At least someone's onto that.
I've had no sleep, mate. I'm like, for shit.
All right. Good on you. So, can we go back in the time machine, mate? Let's go back to the juniors. We won't go back to under 8s or anything, but we'll go back to around the under 14s, 15s, 16s when you started to show some promise.
Yeah.
Hang
on, I just want to go back to under 11s. That's my one and only flag.
Right.
Let's go back there.
Yes.
Right.
Anyway, now we can analyser.
Bang. Oh, no, why?
Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. So anyway, now we can...
I actually didn't bloody know that. Don't start. No. You know what happens?
We love analyser.
You know what happens?
Now we can fast back forward.
Yeah,
How much did you pay for a pie then?
Shut the fuck up.
So back to 14s, 15s.
Back to 14s, 15s. So obviously you were showing a stack of ability. What was the catalyst for saying, you know what, not only do I want to, but I could probably play at the highest level?
Yeah. I just love the game. And obviously I was okay at it as a junior, and my old man was pretty supportive and wouldn't let me, and if I had my time again, wouldn't change a thing. But he probably wouldn't let me not empty the potential tank. Okay. So I think if it would have been remiss of me, and probably his duty as a dad, I reckon he would have seen it at the time as he's got this ability, he's handy, and he enjoys it. Why wouldn't we try and exhaust everything out of it and not necessarily make a living out of it? But I think gone are the days. It was starting to become a little bit more professional, and I was a bit more of a... so, for example, at school, I wasn't maybe the best...
Peninsula School?
Yeah. I wasn't maybe the best student in terms of attention and whatnot, but in terms of football, I was front row, silent, all ears, all eyes. I'm all in. I was a bit of a nerd, and I just wanted to get everything out of it. So I think, and that's where I sort of, I could never kick the ball the furthest or run the fastest or anything like that. But I think what helped me, and probably from under 14s, 15s, 16s, was that diligence and that professionalism. And I think that helped me exhaust all that potential. And I mean, I won a couple of acknowledgements throughout those years, you know, the Stingrays, I think under 16s or 18s, most professional. And then I think it was under 15s in the development squad, it was most diligent. So it was kind of, and then you sort of get acknowledged for those things. And I don't know if this is right or wrong, good or bad, but I sort of felt like I had to keep living up to that standard. And I know I was only 14, 15, 16 years old, but I thought, well, I've got this perception now. I've got to just run and roll with that. And that's me. And if I'm going to exhaust this potential, that's the way to do it. That's the gap that I can have on the guy who might be able to run faster or kick further. So that's sort of my opportunity that I saw. And even at that age, it probably wasn't a conversation I had in my head as clear as it is now. But on reflection, it was probably pretty clear that I kind of knew and didn't want to admit that I wasn't the most skillful or talented. So, and potentially maybe that's why you slide to a rookie, and that's why you might be overlooked. I'm not the tallest guy. I can't jump high. So, and then when I actually got to the Saints, I know we can come back to 16s and 18s and whatnot, but just quickly, when I got to the Saints, I rocked up with, my first day, actually, I had a medical screening because I hadn't spoken to the Saints at all prior to getting drafted. So I go in first day, had a medical or physical screening, and they said, oh, you've got this bone spur on your Achilles. And I said, yeah, it occasionally gets a bit sore when I put my foot a certain way, and they said, oh no, we got to get that out straight away. So 2 days later I was in for a procedure.
Oh, Jesus.
Like, oh, okay,
Bloody hell.
they don't stuff around here.
Yeah.
Very, very minor, just to shave off this little spur. Recovery is very, very predictable. It's all good. And at the time, I played with Aaron Sipos at the Stingrays as well.
Hey.
And he got drafted in the national draft to the Saints. And he was he had a quad injury, hurt it the week I got my spur out. Anyway, so we went through like a mini pre-season from sort of December to pretty much round one, but it was obviously that's pre-season time anyway, but it's our own condensed sort of pre-season. And anyway, so we tackled that together, and then Ross Lyon had an interview early on or later on in the pre-season, early season, maybe round 1 or 2. I remember this pretty clearly and on radio, and they sort of was asking and canvassing about the younger crew and the new draftees that had come in. And he said, oh, you know, it's really good, but I don't know if it's a worry that our most professional players are Aaron Sipos and Tom Curren in the squad. And I thought, geez, that's a great acknowledgement. But it was more meant to be a dig to get a rocket up the other boys, because coming off the back of 09 and 10, just this close to a flag, I think in Ross's eyes, he didn't want the standards to slip and think, well, we're done now, and that was our best chance, and that's it. So whether it was accurate or not, or somewhat of a pat on the back for us or not, I thought, well, this perception has taken me into this level. Let's just keep rolling with that. So, and then anyway, we can chat further about that later on if you want, but we can go back to the
I've
underage.
forgotten the question again.
Sorry.
That's great though, mate. Like as you're saying, your dad. I've got 2 boys that play footy, and I've been a bit too hard on them at times. But all you want is to see your kids get the best out of themselves.
Absolutely.
When you coach juniors, if a young kid wasn't that talented and you could get him to be the best twos player he could be, great. You could be the best. Yeah. Devon Meadows ones player, great. If you can play VFL, great. Yeah. But get the best out of yourself. Yeah. Whatever level you can get to.
Empty the tank.
Empty the tank.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether you AFL, VFL, and if you get to those levels, good on you. So that's great.
Yeah, exactly right.
Good for young boys to listen to that.
Yeah.
Excellent, Tom. So far.
Thanks, Neil.
Now, let's get to Karingal.
Yeah.
Because time's ticking and Bree's waiting.
You're right.
To all of us, it seems like Karingal's a club of it's either famine or feast. So there's not much in between the two. I mean, was it last year or the year before you had under 19s, 2s and 1s playing in the last day at Frankston, and now they're all pretty much entrenched down the bottom. Why? What's the mentality? Is it just a recruiting thing that you can't get the quality to the club at the moment, or is it just lost too many, or there's something that famine and feast is there all the time as with Karingal since I've known them anyway.
Yeah. So I've been there for about 3 years now, and my first year it was when I moved from Perth back to Melbourne, and I wasn't actually planning on staying in Melbourne, but with COVID and things, I thought it's better just to be around friends and family, and it's getting hard to bounce between borders. So I thought last minute, it would have been probably March, that I made the decision to stay in Melbourne, and because I had a few good mates, 3 or 4 quite good close mates at Karingal, and family friends with Luke, the coach. So his mum actually is best mates with my mum. So we've known each other since we were, from pretty much day dot. So he said, mate, so I actually reached out to him and said, I wouldn't mind keeping the tools sharp in case I was to go back to Claremont. I just wouldn't mind. I know it's local level, maybe a lower level, but I just want to kick and catch and hang around with my mates and see what's happening and keep the tools sharp on a footy perspective. And he said, oh, yeah, absolutely, blah, blah, blah. And if anything, it might lift the standard and help the stand at Karingal for that sort of end of pre-season stint before they tackle round 1. And after about a month or so, I made the decision to stay. And then it was, well, if I'm playing footy, it's kind of going to be here. It was either there or Mount Eliza Junior. And I just looked at who was going to motivate me to get to training on a Tuesday and Thursday when it's
and it was your mate.
Shockingly cold on a middle of June, and it's your mates. So and I just had more mates at Karingal than I did at Mount Eliza. So, and it was never a money thing, and never has been, never will be. And I hope you trust me on that. And if you don't, it's just never been on the radar. So that's just how it fell. And to go back to your question, my first year at Karingal, the expectations were low. We had a couple of reasonable senior players, but just youth. Second year, we brought in a couple of recruits, a couple of top-ups, and we probably overachieved, to be honest. We made a finals run where we just pipped a couple of teams that probably were underperforming on the day, and we were performing to our potential, and we were probably healthier. So we ended up playing in the last day and played Langwarrin, and they obviously got the result, and deservedly so. They were by far and away the best team in that year. And we thought, well, we're close, and our best is good enough, especially with Langwarrin now going up. We didn't think we were next cab off the rank, but we thought we were thereabouts. And at the time, it was probably still Pearcedale, Devon, Summy. Probably still those other three were the three to go into the 2023 season. And then prior to that year, we topped up again with a couple of recruits, and we thought, we're right on here. We're a real good shot. So we were sort of building year on year up until that 2023 season. And we started the year 10-0, and then our health maybe, went against us. And I didn't see any action after pretty much round 11 or 12.
Other teams go to work too, don't they?
They do. You're now the hunted, I suppose, as opposed to the hunter, and you've now got the expectations to front up, and every week that the opposition's given you their best. And we've heard those sort of connotations before, but it's a reality, right? And then, so not the wheels fell off, but we just couldn't get it together. And I think we limped to finals, and we probably got what we deserve out in straight sets. We probably only made it, to be honest, on reflection, because we banked those early wins. And then rolling into this year, I think because we put so much into 2023, and again, to use the term, the wheels might have fallen off a little bit from the midway point. I think a lot of guys were so exhausted mentally that it was then or never. So a lot of guys, maybe from selection point of view, didn't get what they wanted as well, because it was, as a coaching group, we were probably very, very narrow-minded with, we just got to keep forcing the wheel, tightening the screws, and it probably forced a few people away to either look elsewhere to play with their mates, look elsewhere to maybe follow some cash because they thought, well, it was then or never. And there's been a couple of retirees as well. So I think out of our, probably in my opinion, top 25, I reckon we've had 15 guys from last year that are no longer with us.
Jesus.
So that's kind of speaks to the point of back to that famine.
Yeah, yeah.
So we were building to this feast.
You never see the middle ground. There's never a sixth or finish.
No.
Ninth or 10th or a first or second.
So now where we see ourselves in 2024, I feel like we're very similarly placed to where my first year in Karingal.
Okay.
We've got 3 or 4, 5 or 6 quite good players at the top end, but we do fall away, and it's just youth.
Yeah.
And we're going down that youth path. We've kind of realised that if we're to contend, not just for 1 year, not just for 2
Yeah,
years.
that's right. That's the
You want
longevity.
to use that word sustainability, and I think that you can always add in recruits and top up. And I know there's points and salary and this and that, but that can restrict that.
That doesn't matter by the look of it, mate.
Depending on who you speak to.
Exactly.
Anyway, we'll leave that one to the side.
Absolutely.
But I think that's sort of the path that Karingal has acknowledged. So whether it's next-gen kind of academy models or whether it's putting time into the youth, and we're back into a 19s fixture. We didn't have a 19s in previous years. So we've really sort of changed the view on how we're moving forward. And that sort of speaks to now more my motivation as to why I keep fronting up, because realistically, and I don't know, the board might not want me to say this, but we're not going to win the flag this year. We're likely not going to make the finals, putting our realistic hat on.
Yep.
So why would I keep playing? And I get asked that, like, why you want to play there? Well, why? Like, you're not a Karingal junior. You're probably, who knows, you might be able to chase finance elsewhere, but that's not the motivation. The motivation is to try and pass that baton, whether I finish up in 6 weeks or whether I finish up in 6 years, somewhere in the middle. I want to help the next gen come through better than when they started. So that's kind of where I'm at with it.
So that segues
They're
into
lucky to
we're
have
just
you.
about there, mate. So you're 31 years old. How's the body? You've had some injuries.
Yeah, it's funny.
Going on.
The body, it feels really good right now.
Yep.
But it's funny because it can change on a dime, can't it?
Yeah, it can.
My 3 full seasons I've completed at Karingal. The first year was interrupted with a bit of COVID, but I've buggered my finger, so I missed the last 3 games there or the rest of the season. The next year I did my LCL in my knee, so I played the first 10 and missed the rest. Last year I broke my ankle, so I played the first 10, missed the rest. This year I flipped it. I thought, I'm not going to play the first 6, then I'll play the last 10 or 12. So far that plan is working. But I've missed finals campaigns in the previous years, whereas this year anyway. So, but as it stands right now, I'm feeling okay.
Fantastic.
But I was saying to the boys after the game yesterday, geez, each week we go on, feels like I'm aging 3 weeks. Just because, you get on and you don't recover like you do when you're 21.
Yeah, no, it's been. Any other questions for Tommy? He's been it's been the most thorough.
I'll go. Just a couple of questions at St Kilda. Who did you regard as the best player you played with at St Kilda? Tough question. Good era.
Yeah, very. I caught the end of a very good era.
Very good.
Yeah. Lenny Hayes has got to be up there because everyone talks about his toughness, but that spiritual leader, that come with me, whatever he does, whatever he did, whatever he said, you either wanted to do, you wanted to replicate, or you wanted to listen. So a leader by actions is really, and I'm quite vocal, especially now when you get a bit more experience and comfort at a certain level. I'm quite vocal, but there's some guys out there that are vocal that, I don't know, you listen, but you don't really want to follow, and they don't inspire. Yeah. He really inspired, but he inspired by actions more so as well, and that's sort of something that I really respected. Yeah. And a lot of people talk about that toughness, but he was very skillful in his own right. And he was the yesteryear Pendlebury in my eyes, because he wasn't quick, but he had the sidestep in traffic. He could balk one way, balk the other, and all of a sudden, he had a 360-degree view of it when everyone else is working with this little tunnel vision almost. So he'd be one. Nick Del Sano, from a skill level point of view, left foot. So I probably learnt a bit of inside game from Lenny, definitely the outside game from Del. And they're both just really ripping guys, those two. Really ripping guys. So, and that really helps because they wanted, it seemed anyway at the time, they wanted to help the younger guys. Whereas it's easy when these guys on a packet, absolute earning everything, to sort of forget to help others.
Absolutely.
And they're probably the two that just stand out immediately, I reckon.
Awesome,
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
That's it. And the team that you hated playing the most in the AFL? Was there anyone that you played, you're like, geez, these blokes are ordinary?
Yeah.
Oh,
That's a tough question. You probably still
There's probably two that immediately stand out. If I had time to think about it might change, but at the moment, the two immediately, I remember I was tagging Luke Shuey over at West Coast, and I remember Dean Cox was just pretty intimidating.
Big boy.
Very vocal, and in the furnace over there, this is before I moved to WA, obviously, their fans, very, very clearly biased. We would have had 2,000, I reckon, Saints fans, and there would have been 50-odd West Coast. Yeah. That was a tough day at the office. Trying to tag Luke Shuey and getting bumped from pillar to post by all these.
Brutal.
And West Coast were going all right at the time. And the other one would have been Hawthorn. I just remember one day, and I mean, guys, I only played 25 games, so I probably only played a couple of teams a couple of times.
25 more than us.
But,
Exactly.
but Hawthorn, I remember we had a dogged day at the MCG. We would have lost by 120 points. It would have been probably 2013. I was tagging Brad Hill.
Oh, good
and
luck. 15 Ks.
Yeah. So at the time, Brad Hill was up and coming, but he was probably one of the fitter guys I've played on, but fast, skillful. And when you're in a team like Hawthorn in that era, it was just a snowball. It was just so hard to stop.
Yeah.
And I remember going into the game, I was meant to tag Sam Mitchell. And my first 10 minutes, I don't think he touched it. And I thought, geez, I'm on here. I'm going all right. And then he did his hammy, and then Brad Hill was cutting us up. So I went onto the wing and played Brad Hill. And I don't know how far I ran that day, but I think I'm still recovering.
Absolutely.
And I just remember Jordan Lewis, Luke Hodge, the amount of verbal, physical.
Oh, how's Hodge on the verbal?
Very
impressive.
Very good. And that's what you get when you're successful. You've been there forever. Yeah. And you just know what you're doing.
It's great.
It was pretty unreal, and almost I was jealous of that. Yeah. So they were two tough days.
That's awesome.
Yeah, fantastic, Tom. Tom, once again, thanks for coming in. It was
no worries at all.
Beyond our expectations, what we've been through today. So
it's great.
What an absolutely unbelievable insight.
It's
great, mate.
Fantastic.
Anytime.
It's going to make for great listening. So
thank you very much for having
Thank you. We appreciate it, and good luck to Karingal for the rest of the year. Let's hope you chalk up a few W's.
Starting this week.
This week.
Would love nothing more.
Good on you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Carn the Bulls. Thanks for joining us, Tom. You're listening to the Halftime Heroes. We're going to be back with Division 1.